Hello, hello. Hey, y'all. Here we are live on YouTube on a Thursday night instead of our regular Wednesday. How y'all doing tonight? If you are here joining me live, let me know in the chat. Say hello. Buenas noches, buenas tardes, buenos dias. I guess it depends on where you are in the world. We'll give folks a little bit of time to get here because again, this is not the time I typically go live. So how are y'all doing? Um, I don't know if you're doing the no spend challenge, the no spend month. We started on when did we start? August 16th, because y'all know time is meaningless to me. We started August 16th and it goes through September 16th. So we're a little more than halfway through the challenge. And yesterday, I sent an email out to the folks who are participating, confessing because I spent some money that did not fall into the category of things that I am allowed to spend money on. For the 31 days, I think it is, um, I cannot spend money on unnecessary things, non-essentials. So like no fabric shopping, no getting food delivered. Um, what other kind of non-essentials? I don't know, but you get the idea. And not only did I spend some money, I spent a lot of money. Apparently, I'm gonna go see, Adele next month in Vegas. So, because I gave myself a very, very small budget of 500 pesos, which is, somewhere between 25 and $30 a week to eat off of, and that's either, like, groceries, eating out, any kind of combination, because, y'all know I don't like to cook. So the idea that for a month I was not going to eat outside my house and I was only going to eat the stuff in it, that was not going to work. So I'd been doing really good about sticking to that budget and not really, honestly, not even being like super tempted because for the most part I'd done the things I told y'all to do. Like I got off of a lot of people's email lists. Um, I've actually been really, really good. And then I don't know what happened. I happened to see a post and somebody was like, "Hey, I got Adele tickets for sale." And it never crossed my mind. I did not hesitate for a second. I was just like, bam, where the tickets at? So yeah. So yeah, I fell down. I fell down spectacularly. But I am not going to throw in the towel. I'm going to move past this transgression and continue on. Today is September 7th. So we have 9 more days, I guess, of the challenge. Yeah, 9 more days of no spend months. And so I will buckle down and not do anything else stupid. So, hey y'all. I see everybody saying hello. Tracy, Dee, Valerina, Kim, Eileen, Pilar, Marissa, Tyra, Kimby, Terry, Yolanda. Hey y'all. All right. So, what are we talking about tonight? Other than my spectacular failure at not spending any money. Um, I was thinking about something. I shared a TikTok on my Instagram account by what is her name? Kobe Campbell. She's a therapist. I shared her TikTok, and it was about, being burnt out and how often we think about like rest. We need to take time off to rest. And hey, I am a big fan of Black women resting and Black women embracing ease. That is absolutely um, how I try to live my life. And she talked about how if you're burnt out, like you've been working at this job, these people are driving you crazy, they're stressing you out, they're making you sick. Getting rest is not going to cure that burnout. Like taking some time off and getting some rest is not going to be enough. And so that got me to thinking about what else she said. She's like, basically, you got to restructure your life. And I think about myself. Those of you who are regular viewers on this channel know that about 8 years ago, 8, 9 years ago, I did some life restructuring because I was to a breaking point myself. And so that's what I wanted to talk about, like how you can restructure your life so that you can live a soft life. Because that's what I want for everybody. Um, you know, so we are burnout, stress, um, being worn out, that's done, that's finished. We're moving beyond that. But before we jump into that, in case there is somebody new here, I do see a few new names in the chat, and I don't know if that's because we went live today at a different time, an hour later than we usually do, or if it's a different day. So in case those names I don't recognize, in case you are new or somebody, the algorithm served this up to you and you're like, who is this lady? What is she about? Or maybe you're watching this in the future. YouTube served it to you. Let me introduce myself. My name is Adelia Aborashade. Um, Welcome to the Picky Girl Nation. I am widely known as Picky Girl Travels the World because I travel and I am really picky about lots of things. But what I actually like do, other than just being picky, is I am a financial educator and a relocation specialist, and I work to help people gain financial confidence so that they can make radical changes in how they live their life. So if that sounds like you're in need of some radical change, uh, you're in the right place. You found your tribe. We're glad you're here on this channel. We talk about money. We talk about life. We talk about how to create the dream life that you so rightfully deserve. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Uh, if you're not already subscribed, probably a good idea to turn on notifications um, so that the next time I go live or I upload another video, which will be tomorrow, this podcast episode coming out tomorrow, you'll know and you can watch it. Um, all right, Courtney. So, yeah, some of these, all right, finally caught a live. I usually have to watch replays. Okay, well, I'm glad me mixing things up has gotten some new faces here. Um, in that TikTok from Kobe Campbell, she talks about, like I said, that you can't recover, you can't rest your way out of burnout. You got to restructure your life. And so that got me to thinking about, um, you know, burnout, stress, um, all of that, that is not soft living. And as I mentioned before, that is what I want for everybody. Um, 8 years ago, we didn't have that term soft life, but the more I watch content online, the more I realize that that is in essence what I had been working toward. I wanted to reject and move away from um, the life I was told I was supposed to have by society and doing all of the work and the struggle, that I wanted something simpler. I wanted ease. I wanted joy. I wanted, less stress. And so, like I now have the vocabulary to say, I live a soft life. This is soft living, but I didn't always have that. And so watching her TikTok, I sort of put the two things together and thought about, um, like burnout is the antithesis of a soft life. And how can we restructure our lives? Because that sounds kind of scary. I'm thinking about where I was 8, 9 years ago at literally the end of my rope. And if somebody had been like, "Girl, you need to restructure your life," I would have replied, if one more person asked me to do one more damn thing, like, no. Because it sounds like such a big thing and a grand change, and it is, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is it doesn't have to be hard. Or I take that back. It doesn't, let me amend that. It doesn't have to be complicated because it could be hard. Unlearning, unbecoming this thing that society turned us into, that can be hard, but it isn't complicated. There are a couple of simple things we can do to help make that transition to a soft life. And so that's what I want to talk about tonight. Um one of the simplest things I think you can do is be more intentional about how you live your life. And on the one hand, I will admit that that sounds very like, okay, be intentional. Like, that's not a very concrete thing. But I think it is a single word, a single concept that can be applied to our lives in multiple, multiple ways. And the first thing that I thought about when I saw Kobe's TikTok was multitasking. I am curious, how many of you have or do regularly consider yourself a multitasker where you're doing multiple things at a time? Maybe it's driving home from work and you're also, calling people back, making a mental note about what you've got to get from the grocery store, who you need to call back, those appointments you need to schedule. Or maybe it is when you are at work, you're trying to do multiple tasks at the same time. Maybe it is at home, like you've got people at your house who expect things from you and you're trying to do something for yourself, something for them, like you're trying to do that. I used to believe that I was a good multitasker. Tracy, Tracy said, "I'm multitasking right now." Oh, absolutely. How many times have you, like, turned something on Netflix? Because you need some background noise, but you're gonna have that on while you're also doing this, and you're also doing this other thing? Okay. The When they poll people, I forget if it's something like 60% or 80% of people believe that they are good multitaskers. Unfortunately, the data says something very, very different. Um, but it often seems like there are so many demands on our time, there's so many demands of us. The only way we can get the things done that we feel like we need to do, that we've been told we need to do, is to multitask. And like I was guilty of that as well. Well, turns out only 2.5% of people can multitask effectively. The number of people who think they can is somewhere between 60 and 80%. It might actually be higher than that. But the people who can actually multitask, it's only 2.5%. Because what we think we are doing multiple things at one time, but really your brain can only handle one thing at a time. No matter what you believe, that is what the research shows. Your brain can only handle one thing at a time. So when we believe we're multitasking, really our brain is concentrating on this, then it's flitting to this, then it's flitting to that, then it's that. And what happens is, honestly, you don't do anything well when you multitask. You're nowhere near as effective or efficient as if you just did one task at a time. Multitaskers lose somewhere between 5 to 15% of their cognitive efficiency while they are switching between tasks. Um, the research has also shown that multitasking can increase stress levels, you make more mistakes, and it can compromise your memory. So, we really multitasking is a lie, and it's a lie we perpetuate to deal with, combat all of these demands for us and these demands on our time. So I say this is where being intentional comes in. This is where using intention comes in. Being intentional about this is the thing I am going to do in this moment, in this time period. This is how long I'm going to work on it. And if you find that you can't concentrate on that thing, then you shift and you go to something else, but you intentionally use your time. And I can probably already guess what you're thinking. Like, okay, that sounds good in theory. But if I do that, there's all this stuff that's not going to get done. There's all these people who are not going to get things from me. Yes, that is quite possibly true. Is it the end of the world? Is it the end of the world? Are those things that important? Are they as important and as vital as we have been led to believe they are? If they are things that still must absolutely happen, do you have to be the person to do them? Or is that something you can delegate out? You know, Stephanie Perry talks about that a lot. When you embrace ease, you focus on living a soft life, like to delegate these things that, eat up so much of your time and so much of your bandwidth. Uh, that's something I finally broke down and did probably after many years was to hire somebody to clean my house because they're just it's something that needed to happen, but of the limited bandwidth I have to do things and handle problems and what have you, it didn't m- it wasn't working for me to focus on that one thing. So that's what I mean when I say getting intentional. So that and I think that sort of goes along with boundaries and setting boundaries and maintaining boundaries about these are the things I can do, I will do. This other thing, I know I used to try and do that, but I do not have the bandwidth for it, so this becomes a boundary. This is something I cannot do. To me, intention, living with intention, being intentional includes all of that. Okay, Adrian said, I have learned to delegate, leaving the rest to God. It took me a while to figure out that I can't fix the world. Exactly. We we cannot do it all. It angers me that we have lived in a system that has expected us to do it all. Um, and punishes us when we often say, I am in too deep, this is too much, I'm struggling. It really upsets me that this is the world that we've lived in. So I think it is living with intention, which sounds very, woo woo. I think is actually a very radical way to start approaching how you live your life. We are only here for a very limited time. And, I don't I know for a fact nobody looks back and says, "I really wish I had been the one who cleaned my house all of the time. I wish I didn't delegate that to somebody, or I wish I had been able to do more loads of laundry or really create Pinterest worthy bedroom retreats with ironed sheets and all that kind of crap." Um, to me, saying, I am choosing to be intentional, I am going to embrace intention, to me, that's a way to fight that system. And it's a shitty system. Let's be real. Okay. I'm just looking back. Make sure I didn't miss a comment. Um, welcome, M. Stewart. I'm glad the algorithm brought you here. I'm glad you like what you are hearing, and welcome. Welcome to the Picky Girl Nation. Okay. So yeah, if because as I said, getting to that soft life, a life where you ain't got burnout, you don't have stress, you've got ease and you've got joy. We've got to get away from trying to do it all, because it nobody can. And anybody you think you see online that, like, oh, she has it all and she's doing it all, I wonder, I would imagine she probably has help in some way, shape, or form. You know how people talk about, like, oh, we all have 24 hours in a day. Yeah, but my 24 hours and Beyonce's 24 hours are very different. I do not I do not have, and I have never had the kind of support she does, the level of support she does. So there's no way that I can be held to that same standard. Like, and I y'all, I don't think I'm saying anything new here or anything profound. I am saying it because sometimes you just need to hear it said from by somebody else. And also, I'm saying it because we know these things on a certain subconscious level, but it sometimes takes it being said out loud by somebody else for it to finally click for us. And if I can be that person for you, that is great. That is fabulous. So, absolutely, I think embracing intention is kind of low key a hack to the soft life. Um, you know, we were we on? No, I think Ivana Robinson, who is my business partner, was on Stephanie Perry's channel, and they were talking about the soft life, like what it is, what it isn't. And one of the things that they mentioned was, on so much of what we see online, on the internet, social media, portrays the soft life as being very luxurious and, like, self pampering and all of that. And I think for some people, it may be that. But if you're finding yourself getting caught up in having to hustle and work and be stressed in order to accomplish that, then you're not living a soft life. Um, you know, and so to me, and as I'm saying this to y'all, I'm thinking about my own experience. For the folks that are new here, I not only did I restructure my life about 8, 9 years ago, I blew my life out of the water. I was like, we doing everything different. But when I think about when I started to make that change and make that transition, I didn't have the word for it, but it was intention. I decided that I was done living my life by other people's beliefs, subscriptions, whatever. I was done doing things a certain way because that's what was expected of me, because I was a woman, because I'm Black, what have you. And really, what I was doing was deciding to be intentional in who I spent my time with, the kind of work that I did, the kind of things I did uh, to relax, to bring myself joy. Like I was intentional about, I wanted a life centered on travel. How do I achieve that? How do I want to travel? Like I started to be intentional. And it's like, to me, that's why I think it's a hack. Because once you embrace intentionality, it unlocks all these other levels. And it's not even something I think you have to give a whole lot of thought to. When you start living life on your terms, when you start saying, I am doing this thing here today, I am going to spend my time and I'm going to be wholly present here and do this thing and not try and multitask, you are being intentional and you are saying, this is what is important to me. This is the kind of life I want to create. I don't know if I'm making a whole lot of sense, but I see them all being connected. So when I say intention is a hack to the soft life, I think if you can embrace intentionality, the rest of the stuff will fall into place and the things that don't serve you will fall away. That's what I think. Eileen says the internet version of soft life is above my pay grade. So I find other ways to lessen my daily stress so I have more time for myself. I think everybody's soft life is going to be different because we're all different people. But if we are talking about embracing ease and joy and happiness, like in order to do that, whatever that looks like for you. Like, I have never been someone who was much of a consumer of things. So, like, shopping for super luxury goods is not going to be soft life to me. But there are other people who really they want that feel in their life. They want when they put on their robe, it to feel super luxury. Hey, I ain't hating on that for anybody. Absolutely not. But I do think intentionality opens up everything else. And so to me, that's what makes it the hack. That's what opens the door for you into that new life. And Anissa is in here dropping gems. This right here. If you are not intentional with your life, somebody else will be. Absolutely. And that is no fun. That's when the stress and the overwork and all of that stuff comes into play. Absolutely. I think about what my life used to be because I've told y'all this before. I was not intentional, so much so that I just let life happen to me. I never set out and tried to chart my own course. It was like I will just take whatever life hands me, be they lemons, be they pineapples, whatever. And moving away from that has been life changing. It absolutely has. So, I think it's a two-part hack in order for you to embrace the soft life. The first one is intentionality, getting away from trying to be everything for everybody and do all of the things. We know that like when we were talking about multitasking earlier, um, a lot of the reasons we all believed that we could multitask successfully, it's directly connected to capitalism and our value being tied to what we can produce. And instead of us saying, I am at my limit. What you are asking me to do is beyond what I am capable, be this a job, be this your family, be this whoever. We often just say, okay, I'm a just add something else to the pile and I'll figure out how I'm going to get it done later. Okay. But that is all tied to this notion of our productivity and our value being tied to our productivity. And so breaking away from these capitalist ideals, breaking away from this belief that we have to do everything, letting go of the expectations that we are supposed to perform at this level, all of that. The other thing I think that makes a huge, huge difference is immersion. Fully immersing yourself in an experience, getting away. Because again, this goes back to what Kobe Campbell was talking about, like, oh, you burn out at your job, I'm gonna rest it away. And so, like, oh, I'll take a trip and I will, I'll rest and I can't talk, rest and relax. And I would say space away from your everyday life is great. But I would say it needs to go a step further. You have to fully immerse yourself in the experience. I think this also goes back to our conversation about multitasking. That's something you can never do when you are multitasking, trying to keep all those balls up in the air. You can never be fully present, whether it's being fully present for yourself, being fully present for your children, your significant other, your family, uh whatever. You can never be fully present. There's one of my favorite memes says something like, um, "Don't do things half-assed. Whatever you do it with your whole ass." And so that's the word I want to bring to y'all tonight is fully immerse yourself in the thing that you are going to do, which goes back to intentionality. If you are intentional about choosing the things and the people with which you engage, being fully immersed should not be an issue. It should naturally follow, right? And I think about um, in 2014, I went to graduate school for the fourth time. And what made this time different was I actually attended the program in person. It wasn't online. I'd done online. I had done a program where you commuted. So I was working my regular 9 to 5 job. I had all of my responsibilities at home. And I would then have to drive an hour and a half in rush hour traffic to sit in class 2 times a week. Okay. None of those have worked. I applied to this program that had a resident component to it. So I actually got to go and fully immerse in that experience. And I I don't wanna use life changing because that I feel like, oh, if I say this is life changing and this is life changing, like it lessens it somehow. But it was, maybe we'll say, life affirming. I don't know. I don't have the right word right now. But it was an opportunity where I could fully be a student without having to worry about helping somebody with some homework, getting folks to volleyball practice, figuring out what am I going to feed these people that live in my house. I could fully immerse in that experience, and I had the time of my life. I would also say that some I got some clarity on some things I don't think I would have been able to get clarity on had I still been at home. Now, one of those things was it was a 2-year thing. I spent the summer there the first year, came back the second year. I was not married anymore. That was one of the things I got some clarity on, as I had time away, as I had time to be intentional about, like, what makes me happy? What is the kind of life I want to live? So being fully immersed in that experience made it so much better, made it so much more meaningful to me. Um, I think about, you know, travel. Um, it's it's the difference between, oh, I'm gonna go visit this place and I'm gonna stay at the resort for, 3, 4 days. Like, that is travel. That could be a vacation, but is it a fully immersive experience? No. Um, can you get all that you possibly could from that experience? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that fully immersing yourself in an experience, no matter what it is, um, ends for the better. It improves life for you. Um, I think about, few weeks ago, I finally got around to publishing um, the videos that I took while I was in Cuba. And that was almost low key a year ago. So it took me a while to get those videos out. But as I was editing them, one of the things I said on camera last November was about how being in Cuba, you know, made me realize that I really wanted to get better at my Spanish. I really wanted to, like, improve my speaking ability. And I said, and when I get back to Mexico, I'm going to get on that. Needless to say, when I got back to Mexico, I really I got back to Mexico in, when did I get back to Mexico? Because I traveled a lot this year. So that's one kind of excuse I have. But regardless, I said that, I felt it when I said it, and then when I got back to Mexico, it just kind of fell by the wayside. And, you know, something I have been wanting to do, to improve my Spanish, was to spend some time fully immersing myself in the language and the culture, removing people who speak English from the equation. I used to joke all the time, like, oh, I want to go to some little pueblo in rural Oaxaca and learn how to like weave and embroidery from the abuelas. But I ain't do anything to make that happen. But uh, I finally did. It has taken me. I've been saying that. I don't know. 2, 3 years I've been saying that, and I finally did. Last week before, I applied for a artist residency. For the people who are new here, I am not an artist, but I do make clothes. Um, and so I applied for that, and I was accepted, and guess what Imma be doing? In some little pueblo in Oaxaca, learning, about textiles. I don't know if she's somebody abuela, but I know she does not speak English. So again, I am going to fully immerse myself in that experience so that because I've said this is something that matters to me. And I'm excited not just for the hoped for improvements in my Spanish ability, but I'm also excited about time away, you know, being able to step away from my everyday life and and uh kind of have time to reflect, think, decompress, like all of those. I kind of see it almost like as a mini sabbatical. I don't know. But again, the idea of I am going to immerse myself in that experience fully, as opposed to um, how I have approached learning Spanish thus far. And so where d- where does that leave us when we're talking about immersion and self life? Well, again, like we said, if it is something that is important to you, it's something, um, that's going to bring you joy, that's going to give you the space to figure out what you want. That's really the other thing. Stephanie Perry talks about all the time. Uh, those of you, I know a lot of y'all here tonight are part of the Exodus Squad. Um, Many of you are either on sabbaticals, have taken sabbaticals. You know the power of, I would say, a sabbatical. You are fully immersing yourself in not working, in that break, you know, as opposed to, I'm going to be at the resort. I'm going to take a long weekend. I'm going to just relax by the pool. Yes, that is resting. But as we've already established, resting isn't enough to fix the burnout, to fix whatever. You really got to rethink and restructure your life. And so taking time away where that you can fully immerse yourself in doing that, I think is what will make the difference. And so just let's use Exodus Summit as an example. If there is anybody here, I know most of y'all know Exodus Summit, but who knows? There may be somebody here that is unfamiliar. Exodus Summit is a online event for Black women who want to take a sabbatical, who want to travel the world, or who want to move to another country. It is an online event. This year, it will be taking place October 6th through the 9th. And I've seen some of the ladies being like, I would love to get together with some of my sisters because it's an online event. You know, it might feel a little better like if I had a homegirl with me to watch it. And one of the things that both Stephanie and Rashida have mentioned is really you need to be fully immersed in that experience in order to get the most out of it. That go ahead, block off your calendar now. That way folks won't try and drag you into a meeting or, whatever else. People won't make demands on your time. Block off your calendar. Figure out how you are going to feed yourself. Like, do you need to do some meal prep? Do you need to order some things? So that you can be fully immersed in the experience. Because, most of the women who attend Exodus Summit, they want the change, they want the transformation in their life. But if you are like, I'm watching the summit, but I'm also going to multitask, you'll see how that does not work, right? You see how that doesn't work. Put your phone on do not disturb so that you can be fully immersed in the experience. Marissa says, like a study session, it is. And if you want to study something, you got to fully immerse yourself in it if you want it to be successful. Tracy's going to a hotel. Like, yeah, again, I think this goes hand in hand with intentionality. That if you are choosing the things you do, how you spend your time, you're being intentional about that. And so you've made this decision to attend this event because you want the transformation that they promise. You've got to fully immerse yourself in that experience. I hope that makes sense. It makes sense in my head. And I would also say, it's like, okay, one of the things that I do is I host retreats. And this is one of the reasons that Ivana Robinson and I came up with Reclaim the Retreat. That is the name of our retreats. Um, oh, so yes, we have somebody new here. There is not a link in the description because I didn't get that far. But if you are interested in Exodus Summit, uh, go to exodussummit.com and you'll get all the details about the event. But being able to be fully immersed, Ivana is a life and leadership coach. I am a financial educator, but a lot of what we want to change about our life hinges on, do I have the money for this? Where can I get the money for this? The way I've been dealing with my money is in the way of how I want to live my life. So, we see those two things kind of going together. And I work with folks who want to change their life. And money is a big part of that. Ivana works with people who want to change their life. And we were kicking around ideas of like, how can we help people make this change? And to me, a retreat made the most sense because what that lets you do is that lets you fully immerse yourself in this activity, this rethinking and restructuring of your life. But when you come on a retreat with us, when you come to Reclaim the Retreat, whether it's in El Salvador, it's in Hawaii, Oaxaca, or the other place that we have not announced yet, if you're coming to that place, you are fully there. You don't have to tend to the people at your job. You don't have to tend to those folks that live at your house. You don't have to deal with your parents saying, "Hey baby, can you come over here and show me how to change this thing on the remote again?" Like, all of those distractions are not there because you are in a location that is favorable to you fully immersing yourself in the work of figuring out what it is that you want out of life, how you're going to get it, working out a plan. And that's one of the main reasons we chose the uh, retreat format over others. So if you're watching this and you're thinking to yourself, I really do need some time, some space to step away from my everyday so that I can be more focused and intentional, so that I can fully immerse myself in restructuring my life, you should join us at Reclaim the Retreat. You can get, there is a link in the description. You can get information about locations, dates, activities, prices, all of that at reclaimtheretreat.com. We have a retreat in November. There is one spot left. So if you're thinking like, yeah, I do need, I need some time to just focus on figuring out what I want away from the distractions, we do have one spot in November. The other dates, the only other date that there are spots available for, or that are, that's open for enrollment, let me not misspeak, is our February 14th through the 20th for Galentine's Day. Um, so yeah. So whether it is fully immersing yourself in the things that you have chosen, you've been intentional about choosing to use your time for, whether it is fully immersing yourself in an event that is going to help you change your life, restructure your life, like Exodus Summit or like Reclaim the Retreat. I think, to me, if you want to get to a soft life, and to me, a soft life, I'm not stressed, I have ease, there is joy and happiness, true joy and happiness. You know, I want to build a life that affords me those things. To me, there are two things you got to do. You have to be intentional about it, and you have got to fully immerse yourself in the things that will help you get where you got to go. Um, I'm trying to think, was there something else I wanted to tell y'all? Ah, that's the end of my notes. Going back. Okay, Tracy, the no spend challenge is making me more intentional with my money. My little slip up on these Adele tickets, withstanding. I That's one of the things that I have learned from doing the no spend month thus far is okay, when you only give yourself 25, $30 to eat on for the week, you start to get real intentional about, do I need that pastry? Do I really need that hot chocolate? You know, like about, and I have had to be very intentional. There have been quite a few people in town the last couple of weeks, and I didn't want to be like, I can't meet up because I'm doing no spend week. Although several of them were very gracious and treated me, I did think about it with intention of, I've got this amount of money, I know I'm meeting up with this person, this is how much I can set aside for that meetup. I've been intentional in that way, and I'm learning that, and maybe this goes with soft life too. I made this rule for myself during the challenge, during the no spend month, that I wasn't going to have anything delivered. That if I wanted something, I had to physically leave my apartment. The other day, I was trying to figure out how I could buy groceries. And the amount of stress that went into trying to figure out which grocery store I could go to, but then how was I going to get home, blah blah blah. And then that's when the light bulb went off, and I was like, okay, having groceries delivered is something that is like, paying that delivery fee, that's not superfluous. That's not a non-essential. It would reduce my stress enormously if I didn't have to figure out how I was going to get back and forth to the grocery store. and what kind of transportation and all of that. So I've been learning some things too, and I think it's going to help me be more intentional about how I do things moving forward. All right, garden living with Cicely, Cecily. I need to immerse myself with the sewing machine I bought during the pandemic. It's out of the box and it's on the shelf. All right. If that is something that you've decided is part of the life you want, you got to get intentional about it. How are you going to incorporate that into your life? Um, and that might mean, okay, I'm going to dedicate this time to using my machine, learning about my machine, sewing. I'm going to have to give up this other thing because remember, we can't do it all. We cannot multitask effectively. We cannot. All right. All right. I think I've said what I have wanted to say to y'all. I don't know if there's anything else y'all want to say before we leave. Oh, I need to acknowledge the super chat. Cart Donut, thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate that. Um, yeah. So that's what's going on with me. That's what's going on in my head. And I thought it would be worth it having this conversation with y'all. That if to get the life that you want, a soft life where we're not stressed, we have some ease, we don't have struggle and all of that. I think the hack is two things: being intentional and fully immersing yourself. And I hope from this conversation you take away that that can look different. It doesn't have to look the same for you as it does for the lady next to you, and that's completely okay. All right. So, I guess we're going to wrap up. If what I said about um, Exodus Summit intrigued you, go check them out at exodussummit.com. If you want to know more about Reclaim the Retreat, which is hosted by myself and Ivana Robinson, go to reclaimtheretreat.com and you can get all of the information there. Bye, y'all.